This is the luxury world. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. In the field of watchmaking, the Speedmaster Moonwatch continues to be a true icon. Since the Omega Speedmaster Professional became the first timepiece to go around the moon, it has earned legendary status as the Moonwatch. Even now, NASA employs the renowned watch for their crewed space flights. The iconic timepiece's most recent modifications was influenced by its own vintage design, and the Master Chronometer accreditation adds even more precision and dependability. In today's video brought to you by the Luxury World, we will be going to discuss the Omega Professional Speedmaster, also known as the Moonwatch. If you're looking for one and are unsure which one to choose, we will explore some of the accessible alternatives and what distinguishes each one. If you still have not subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to do it now so you can stay updated on our future videos. It's known to many people that the pace of a 42mm Master Professional chronograph watch with manual winding on its functionality is also already a good watch to pick. Despite being a good watch on its own, it still causes some concern for its devotees. And since they engage in so much of it, they're more attracted to the idea that this is the first watch ever worn in history on the moon. And it has consistently been quite strong in its relationship to the lunar program of NASA, and the entireness is a true symbol of the watch industry. That fact alone makes the timepiece extremely popular among enthusiasts and collectors. And the fact that the reputation of Omega watches has been produced numerous times over the years. The Speedmaster Moonwatch Master Chronometer lineup consists of 12 watches with different versions to choose from. You can choose between a nylon fabric strap and a completely brushed stainless steel band for the Hasselite glass variants. You can choose from leather straps or stainless steel bracelets with polished and brushed links to wear the sapphire crystal variants. You might be wondering now which Moonwatch should you buy, and if you choose, which one would you want and will keep among the rest. For sure, some of you can begin acquiring one now. How much of a factor is taken into consideration and how eager do you want to be a purist about it? These are some of the questions that boggle your mind and your curiosities. Talking about the watches alongside the possibilities that are provided by the contemporary catalog, we will begin contrasting every Speedmaster illusion that Omega has ever released. At this point, we will not be counting them all at once, since Omega issues a limited edition of the Maximum. To stop such a kind of slip down the rabbit hole and getting lost in the overwhelming options, what we will do is go with the basics. So let us start to introduce the bare bones, which are the classic Moonwatch, which is identified with a closed light crystal manual wind caseback and moving onto a stainless steel bracelet configuration watch. If we observe the generation of today's watches for previous and current generations prior to that kind of meeting configuration, we can check out the Hasselite glass closed back costs compared to the present generation watch that serves as the standard, which is the reference 310.30.42.50.01.001, which is also referred as the steel on the coated nylon fabric strap. It has a retail price of $6,400, but has a current market price of around $5,200. The very own Omega coaxial Master Chronometer caliber 3861 powers this timepiece. The next one is reference 311.30.42.30.01.005, which has a current market price of around $4,600, and the most recent retail price was around $5,350. The mechanical caliber 1861 from Omega, a descendant of the fabled manual winding movement worn on the moon, powers this chronograph. Followed by the speed generation of this was a Master Expert watch, which is the reference 3570.50. The last retail price for this was $4,500. Unfortunately, this reference to the watch was discontinued in 2013. It began production in 1996 and its market value right now is around $4,000. The reason it's good to contrast the three watches is the reason that they once more are due to the absence of a contemporary version of the Moonwatch. If you're an enthusiast or a purist and consider purchasing the watch that genuinely surpasses the watch or the jewelry mechanical item, you are holding in your possession that allows you to connect to history regarding the lunar program associated with it. Also, if it matters to you that it's the very first watch ever made and worn on the moon's surface, this is the excellent choice for you. Originating from the present day, you would have to return and search for a vintage example. However, if you so desire to compare these three examples, we may go over what we can do. Several of the compromises include both artistic and technical levels. Perhaps you can determine which of these will matter to you and you can select more of the specifics to them, and those that are less to you. Let us talk about the aesthetic level first. What we will do is compare the caliber 3861 of today's generation moving Speedmaster versus the previous Speedmaster generation, which is caliber 1861. The bracelet on the updated edition is therefore superior by a wide margin to the older one, both just functionally and in terms of historical perspective. It's more corresponding to the bracelets that were available historically in the Moonwatch collection. It has a stronger taper on the wrist, which is draped by the bracelet's width. It's much better, simply because of the manner that the Hasselite's linkages can move. The bracelet is entirely brushed in this form, and the clasp on the even works better than the present-day generation. It's a more compact, historically inspired size, so a lesser amount of it is the permanent piece that is positioned at the base of the wrist. Looking from a technical standpoint, it's a better class. The micro-adjustment is now a feature of it as well. Significant changes in style between both the current and earlier generations are what transport the speedy professional in today's society. Returning to the historical accuracy, the dot over the 90s is the bezel of the tachymeter. Like that, there are numerous other features like the step dial, and you can tell how the typeface is positioned and how the arrangement of the different items on the dials enhances legibility in addition to today's generation, but also in many other ways. For instance, like the step dial or the cross-out and identification. If you like to purchase the prior model, then the younger generation performs an excellent job. It has a better job of maintaining the original intent. However, from a movement perspective, it's a little bit more. It's also worthy to note the contrast between a thoroughly modern one, which is the caliber 3861 movement that is the Omega's technological marvel. It has a coaxial and anti-magnetism feature. The coaxial escapement ensures that even with the service, there will be gaps between these and it can stand longer, since they demand less lubrication. This method is certified, so it's a master chronometer, which indicates that it's cost certified and has more tightly and anti-magnetism functionality. It has controlled mobility, but hacking minutes and seconds, none of which the 1861 movement ever had. Moreover, it really contained excellent movement finishing, which is automated, except if you chose the Sapphire version of the Moon's earlier iteration of the contained watch. With regard to the movement, from a technical standpoint, it's a much better movement because they are equipped with the features that the previous ones do not have. However, to do this needs more than 50 the proportion of non-replaceable components before it. It might be regarded to be a new movement at its core. Furthermore, an entire sort of that was influenced by what came prior to it, albeit it's not exactly similar in many ways. Yet, caliber 1861, however, is a trend that much more clearly traces its ancestry to the 861 calibers. The 861 caliber is obviously pertinent given that it was used in moon watches. It took flight as part of Apollo's 17 missions, and it's only operated as an instrument in the cockpit. So it sort of went back after traveling around the moon, but never made it to the moon in actuality. Even so, it's almost identical to the 1861 movement, which is the 861 movement, which was also a component of the Apollo program with only one additional jewel. And now that it has inflated, some minor changes have been made elsewhere in between. Considering the 1861 movement, and if you consider how historical it's devoted to the movements that were present in the real watches, the link between the lunar program means that there is a lot more strength, and neither movement has ever received certification from NASA for spaceflight. But for NASA, the caliber 321 qualified, which is the original Speedmaster in 1965. Nonetheless, Omega actually qualified for the 861 calibers in its place by NASA as part of their mission in the 1970s, and upgraded the timepiece such as the 3861 caliber movement. Possessing the newest relating to the best or having the best of what an Omega watch can provide you, then it's clear that the 3861 is the superior choice. However, if you prefer something that is perhaps a little more historically, both true and historically inspired compared to 1861, it's a matter of comparing both choices. Using the comparison of both the current and past generations, what we can also do is a generations that contrast to the earlier versions, which is represented by the 311 dots with the remaining serial number for reference, as well as compared to the previous one how similar is this of which the reference 3570.50. There is a gap between these two timepieces, which actually the watch has two key differences. The head is nearly the same, but the major difference between the two was the upgrade of the 3570 bracelets to the references of 311. A bracelet worn by the reference 3570 was constructed using pins and collars. If you consider the fact that at this time, even the newest of these watches have a purpose and are at least 10 years older than you, and that these bracelets frequently break, are also the improvement that was made in the reference starting in 311, which is the screw-based model construction. When you buy, it will be more recently utilized than it has been since it was between 2014 and 2020, but also simply because its inherent production will have endured longer throughout that time. The following significant variations exist in the packing and in the watch itself, and what comes with it. The 311 has this enormous exhibit case, and so it includes a variety of goods like a Velcro strap and a lube NATO strap, which is a tool for adjusting straps. It also included an odd medallion coin item in the case for no reason. All of this does not really matter to the quality of the watch. Thus, they only resulted in raised prices and highly likely contributed to the price hike. But it's just for watches, and they do not really add any perspective to anything. Considering these details, if you were to try and determine which specific model of Moonwatch you desired, it all boils down to buying what the costs and benefits will be to get the nicest bracelet possible. Then, you may put the bracelet on the existing Moonwatch generation, which is only available for purchase separately. For the bracelet price, it will be under $1,000. But this is not the exact price about which we are talking. But you may get that bracelet and just to fix it, and put it onto the 3570 or 311 Speedmasters, and it would fit exactly. Whatever you wish and you choose to purchase, you have the freedom to do it. And that results in finding the greatest watch head you can. From the two previous generations we discussed, you can choose which generations are at their most optimal price. The current market with a modern Moonwatch is a bit of a price, which is around $5,200. Still, it's a no-brainer. It's so much better at keeping track of time, and it's just so considerably more effective in terms of its service, and it contributes to the historic Speedmaster's appearance. At the end of the day, the only issue will be how much money you are willing to spend and what you are after. If you are just interested in getting the best watch that you can get in the market for the same collection and type of watch. Choosing to purchase is entirely up to you, considering including in your Moonwatch and what aspect of the Moonwatch is important to you. The positive news for watch aficionados and collectors, regardless of whatever you decide to buy, you cannot go wrong. The only differences in responses here is just how much money is at issue. It's a matter of how you want to spend money and what features you wish to withdraw from it. What do you think of the perfect Moonwatch that matters to you? Is it the aesthetic value or technical value that you are deciding on? We would like to see your answers and opinions in the comment section. If you liked this video, we will be glad if you let us know that too. Don't forget to follow us and give us a thumbs up. Once again, this is The Luxury World, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next videos.